The Poco X2 has managed to do what very few phones can in the rapidly evolving world of smartphones. It's managed to grab everyone's attention. Love it or hate it, the Poco X2 has gotten everyone talking about it. So is this phone worth all that hype? That's what we're going to find out in today's review. Hey guys, Ash here from C4eTech, and if you do end up liking what you see in this video, subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon, and let's now get this review started. Now, I've already reviewed this phone in its Chinese avatar as the Redmi K30. Well, I spent over a week with it back then. This time, it was my colleague Amartya who did the bulk of the testing. Why? Well, because generally between the Chinese and Indian launches, MIUI tends to get a lot more stable. Remember the microstatus that we spoke about in the K30 review video? I was very curious to see if that was addressed somehow. And also, Poco's generally been good with software fixes, attentive to the consumer's needs. So of course, we started with that 120Hz panel here. We tried a lot of games with the regular ones like say PUBG or even Call of Duty. The Poco X2 performed really well. The 730G in here, it kept up and there was no lag or frames being dropped at all. But these games, they do not support higher refresh rates, only the base 60Hz. So we went ahead and switched to something like Mortal Kombat or Modern Combat Versus. The increased responsiveness and smoother gameplay was immediately noticeable. The older generation might not probably appreciate this, but there is a reason why gamers, whether it's PC gamers or even ones with consoles, we always want those extra FPS. Higher refresh rates always make the gaming experience a little bit better, and that is something you're gonna notice only if you're into gaming. For day-to-day usage, this is a nice to have. The combination of the Snapdragon 730G SoC and the 120Hz screen, it's not just about the smoothness. With higher refresh rates, everything feels snappier. Even moving around the interface, at the end of the day, that snappiness is what everyone's looking for, right? A better user experience, and the Poco X2 seems to offer just that. Now, while the X2 might at times feel smoother than a flagship with a 60Hz panel, it most definitely is a mid-ranger, and that does show. The 730G inside isn't powerful enough to keep up with the 120 frames a second requirement at all times, and that hasn't changed since the Redmi K30. This results in brief moments where the phone seems to stop for a bit and then suddenly catch up. Now these are microstatus and they don't happen a lot, so don't think of it as the phone suddenly freezing and then starting to work. That is not what I'm saying. The user experience is not greatly impacted, but once in a while we do notice these microstatus. They are extremely hard to catch on camera, and that said, we did certainly face enough of them for it to warrant a mention in this review. But apart from these instances, Android 10 based MIUI 11 kept things chugging along quite nicely. In the past, Poco's been quite vocal about quick updates, squashing out bugs, and keeping their software free of ads, and hopefully they continue following suit with the X2 as well. While we did come across a bit of bloatware, we didn't see any ads in our time with the X2. And that's pretty good. MIUI 11 here feels as polished as always, and the Poco launcher being preloaded means we get an app drawer right out of the box. The overall software experience is smooth and hassle-free. Another area where the X2 impresses is with the battery. Despite having a 120Hz screen, the 4500 mAh unit here managed to deliver well over 1 day battery life consistently. We ended up finishing the day with 30% plus left in the tank on most days. And then there is the included 27-watt fast charger in the box, so that lets us quickly top off whenever needed. Since we're talking about the pros, let me just quickly dive into the cameras. We get 4 to the back. The primary is Sony's new 64-megapixel IMX686 sensor. This is the first time we are seeing this sensor on a smartphone. Okay, not technically, since the first time we saw it was on the Redmi K30, but hey, it's pretty much the same phone, right? The 686 is paired with a f1.9 lens. Under bright conditions, this camera takes some really pretty looking pictures. There's a lot of detail, the highlights and the shadows are well preserved, the dynamic range in particular was really impressive. Just look at the sky in this shot. Now under low light, the dedicated night mode, it does good too. The subject appears bright with nice colors. Under extreme darkness, the Poco X2 does tend to push the ISO really high. Like in this picture of the tree, the ISO, it goes as high as 15,000. and that means we do see some noise, but the image is usable. Doesn't feel like anything's really changed since the K30, and with the other three sensors too, we have the usual fare of wide angle, macro and a depth sensor here. And since we've talked about these in depth in my K30 review, I'm not gonna repeat that and bore you guys. So here's a card, do check out that video for more information. Now, the short version is that the ultrawide's pretty cool, the macro not so much, the depth sensor, it does a decent job with portraits. Now for selfies, the depth sensor here, there is one present. The depth sensor helps out. The 20 megapixel selfie camera is quite good by itself too. Now let's take a look at some of the more unique features that the Poco X2 has brought with it, especially with regards to the camera software. There is an option to shoot RAW. We get focus peaking. On the video side of things, we have this vlog mode. Basically, there are a bunch of pre-made effects to help give videos a fun feel. And here's where we can see a demo of each effect. I also feel a need to mention the fact that the Poco X2 takes really stable video even at 4K. It's got good dynamic range, so the resulting footage turns out sharp without any jitters. It's pretty unique to see this on a phone at this price point. Now the video that we shoot, we actually see it on this IPS panel. And this is one of the best IPS panels that I've seen. We have support for HDR10 and there is wideband L1 support too. This is a 6.67-inch display. It's great for media consumption as well as playing games. Poco has also followed in Redmi's footsteps. The screen space between the cameras has been blacked out via software. Talking about which, the primary camera, it helps with face unlock. The other biometric option is the fingerprint scanner that's built into the power key. It's located to the right. It's a very sensitive scanner, so just a touch and the X2 unlocks. I've never been a huge fan of side placements, but here, given the speed and accuracy of this fingerprint scanner, I guess I could live with it. What might be not as easy to live with would be the weight. At almost 210 grams, the X2 is quite a heavy phone. It often weighed down on my jeans pocket. The build, it is solid though. We've got Corning's Gorilla Glass 5 on both sides. Yes, the side of the phone, it's not metal, it's plastic. But then again, we didn't feel any creaking or wobbling, so the build quality is good. Finally, a word on the design. Again, this is more of a personal opinion than anything. But like I've mentioned many a time before, the 3D circular ring around the cameras, it's quite unique, it's quite different, and it helps the K30 stand out from other Redmi phones, from other phones in this segment for that matter. It might not be for everyone though. The gradient design, it's tastefully done. Having a P2I water repellent coating is always a nice touch. So, conclusion time. When the Poco F1 came out, it stunned us all with amazing specs at a price point that we really hadn't expected. So that set our expectations sky high for the Poco brand. The Poco X2 doesn't feel like it lives up to those lofty expectations. Now, it's not the X2's fault that it isn't the Poco F2. It's part of an entirely new X lineup. But then again, where is the Poco X1? Honestly, if say Poco had a phone like the K20 Pro that was called the Poco F2 and the K20 was maybe a little weaker and that came out as the Poco X1, then the Poco X2 would definitely feel like a natural evolution. But I'm not saying this is a bad phone, it just isn't the Poco that everyone might have been waiting for over a year. That said, it is still a pretty impressive Poco nonetheless. The Poco X2 is a very well thought out phone, and for 16,000 rupees it offers category leading cameras, an amazing high refresh rate display, excellent battery life with fast charging nonetheless, and a buttery smooth user experience. Does the Poco X2 have its flaws? Of course it does. Is it a rebranded K30? Yes it is. But do I recommend the Poco X2? I surely do. Why? Are you serious? Did you just watch the video? Go back, watch it, give me more watch time. Please do that. Go back to the start of the video, watch it again. Okay, jokes apart, these are my thoughts on the X2, the Poco X2. Now I want to know what you guys think. Would you buy the Poco X2? Are you bummed out that after all this waiting, you've not gotten the Poco F2 that you wanted? Let me know your thoughts via the comments below. And with that, we get to the end of this review, and it is now time I bid you adieu. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about this video. Subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. And thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4E Tech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.